Hello everyone! With whatever engine and gearbox you get a used Volkswagen Polo, its body will be in almost perfect condition. But only on condition that the car has not been in an accident with subsequent poor quality restoration. The Germans seriously approached the issue of protecting the body from corrosion, and the paintwork is quite strong. In this nomination, Polo confidently holds the leading position in comparison with its classmates. However, there are some exceptions. On some cars, the paints on the roof peels off at the junction with the windshield. Moreover, this story is typical for many Volkswagen models, in particular the Golf and Passat. If you find traces of peeling of the paintwork from sandblasting on the front fenders, in places where they come into contact with doors and thresholds, then you should know that this car has run decently for 200,000 kilometers. By the way, with age, the windshield wiper trapezoid turns sour. Usually the laser strokes of the wipers usually give out this malfunction. Soured bushings can usually be worked out with WD-40 oil. It is better, of course, to completely disassemble the mechanism and lubricate all rubbings and rotating parts. But the rattling of the fuel pipes in the engine compartment can be eliminated independently and with little bloodshed. To do this, it is enough to strengthen them with any improvised means, up to the use of insulation tape or special gaskets. On cars with high mileage, check the operation of the locks. The alloy are rather flimsy and wear out the fastest on the driver's door, and especially on the trunk lid. After restyling, the design of the locks was strengthened and the trunk began to open from the passenger compartment. Do not be too lazy to also look under the hood and check the condition of the front panel, the so-called TV. It is plastic and burst even with light contact with a snowdrift or other minor obstacle. At the same time, pay attention to the air conditioner radiator. It closes the engine heat exchanger and is the first to take on the blows of flying small and medium-sized stones, which is why its honeycombs quickly jam. Therefore, it is desirable to install a protective mesh in the bumper grill. Both radiators are recommended to be cleaned once every 2 to 3 years. By the way, the original body parts for the Volkswagen Polo are inexpensive and their quality is very decent. Therefore, it makes no sense to buy a non-original of dubious origin, save a little in price, and the service life of such a product will be much less. The same principle should be followed when servicing engines. By the way, initially a 1.6-liter gasoline 4 of the CFNA series with a capacity of 85 and 105 horses was installed on the Polo sedan. Both motors are identical in design, and the difference in horses is achieved solely by the firmware of the control unit. In the timing drive of these engines, there is a lamellar chain, which only stretched closer to 200,000 kilometers. Specific noises will herald its wear, which, by the way, many confuse with the knock of the piston group. This is the main and not very pleasant feature of this force. A specific soundtrack appears after 50,000 to 70,000 kilometers of run. The Germans quickly responded to the problem, and since 2013 they began to install upgraded pistons. However, these measures did not radically change the situation. Tapping on a cold engine did not go away. Although it should be noted, knocks in the piston did not lead to scuffing of the cylinder mirror, and many engines nurse up to 400,000 kilometers without major repairs. Moreover, with the engine warming up, extraneous sounds, including those coming from the valve hydraulic compensators, disappeared. In the risk group of the force of the CFNA series, the water pump, which should be changed along with the drive belt and rollers every 60,000 to 90,000 kilometers. If you replace only the belt, then in the near future the pump will leak. Checked. Therefore, if you do not want to pay twice for work, update these details together. and the turn of 100,000 kilometers, the exhaust manifold cracks. Therefore, they often put a more affordable domestic-made unit without a catalyst. Approximately the same amount was released to the corrugation of the receiving pipe, which already burns out on this run. But the left engine mount ceases to perform its functions, even on relatively fresh sedans. The problem was solved by installing a non-original part from a well-known brand. And after installing, the design of the support was improved and there were no complaints about it. By the way, the restyled Volkswagen Polo was equipped with a modernized engine of the same volume of the CWVA series, belonging to the EA211 family, with a capacity of 90 and 110 horses. The motor has become much quieter than its predecessor due to the use of the toothed belt in the timing drive, and at the same time got rid of knocks in the cylinder piston group. But the newly made 4 is distinguished by an increased appetite for oil, up to 100 grams per 1,000 kilometers, which, by the way, decreases markedly after 25 kilometers. But everything else is good. In addition, not all owners of rugs complain about the jar of motor oil. There are not many complaints about gluttony, and the 1.4-liter turbo engine of the CZCA series with a capacity of 145 horses, which has become available for Polo since 2016. Reviews about the motor are the most flattering. At least it is noticeably more reliable than its 122 horsepower predecessor. However, we must not forget that the turbocharger and fuel pump are at risk for these engines, and it is extremely picky about the quality of fuel and engine oil. As for gearboxes, the mechanics for 5 and 6 gears are pretty reliable. Although sometimes after 150,000 kilometers, on the 5-step the link and the plastic sleeve of the lever become loose, which leads to difficult gear shifting. However, repairs are by no means inexpensive. The 6-speed mechanics, which is combined only with a turbo engine, has not yet acquired statistics of malfunctions. However, the reliability of the unit can be judged by other models of the concern, when these bugs proved to be the best. A lot of flattering reviews about the 6-speed automatic Asian TF60, which is considered a priori trouble-free even with more powerful engines, and with the 1.6-liter force with a modest torque, the box only works at half of its capabilities, which allows us to judge its durability. Just do not forget to change gear oil every 60,000 kilometers. Then the unit will serve faithfully for many years. The same can't be said for the infamous DSG DQ200 7th-speed dual dry clutch gearbox, which until recently has been a hassle. For 12 years of production, the Germans have repeatedly upgraded the unit and updated the software a dozen times. The main source in the bugs are considered to be the rapid wear of the clutch and bearings of the gear shift forks, as well as the failure of mechatronics. However, after making changes to the design and improvements, the DSG resource increased markedly. The mechanical part of the DSG is completely reliable if you change the oil in it after 60,000 kilometers, but the mechatronics is still whimsical and can throw out a trick even with a modest run. If you feel a strong vibration at high speed, do not rush to blame the robot for this. Most likely, the reason is the worn-out internal CV joint, which on machines with an automatic fails by 100,000 kilometers. The suspension scheme on the Polo is no different from competitors. McPherson struts in front and a torsion beam in the back. Consumables here are the front stabilizer struts, which begin to creak at an average of 25 to 4,000 kilometers. But the remaining elements of the chassis can easily withstand 100,000 kilometers. Front levers are usually changed due to wear on silent blocks or ball joints. Saving is irrelevant here. In this case, it is more profitable to take the original, which is guaranteed to cover 100,000 kilometers, and not a cheaper craft, the resource of which is disproportionately lower. Native shock absorbs also nursed under 100, although here just you can experiment with other brands. In the steering on the first machines, a plastic support bushing wore out, which a craftsman successfully replaced with a fluoroplastic one. After installing, the need for this has disappeared. The rail has become more durable. The electric equipment of the Polo is not the most difficult, and therefore does not burden problems. However, the parking lights are annoyingly often on, and the power window can take on a life of its own. The heating elements of the front seats are not very durable. They give up under the weight of the driver after 4 to 5 years. Some sensors and blocks also fails, although not so often. But in general, despite its venerable age, the Volkswagen Polo is in high demand in the Russian market. And the priorities, first of all, remain outstanding reliability, durability, excellent build quality, despite the budget finishing materials, and affordability. And you can choose any modification you like with any engine and gearbox, but it is still preferable to have cars after installing when all childhood diseases have already been cured. If you ever had such a model, share information about what and how it breaks in the comments.